it was all about cost savings, and it was all about allowing the customer to tolerate some pain. Today, what AI and these new technologies allows us to do, chatbots specifically, is we can finally get to nirvana, which is this idea that I can have automation, which is good for the organization. I save money and it's more efficient. And by the way, if you do it correctly, if you do it in a smart way, it is actually a superior experience.
Hello and welcome to a whole new episode of Engati CX. I'm your host Jeremy D'Souza, and today we have someone very interesting with us. But before I introduce you to our amazing guest, allow me to introduce you to the magic of Engati. Engati is the world's leading multilingual no-code chatbot platform, available across 14 channels with 30,000 bots created across 186 countries in every domain and use case. Engati has also been recognized as a top platform by Inc.com, TechWorld, CIO, and many others. We run the Engati blog, the video channel, and the Engati CX podcast, receiving upwards of 300,000 visitors annually. And now for our guest. Amas is the founder of BetterXperience. He's an author, keynote speaker, and a customer experience consultant. He regularly advises companies and governmental organizations on how to improve their performance and connect emotionally with their employees and their customers. He's also been featured on Forbes, the Huffington Post, Entrepreneur, and other business journals for his thought leadership. Amos has helped devise strategy and execution for organizations like Cox Communications, Fastly, Vigo Work, Teleflora, Coca-Cola, and DirecTV. And he's also the author of Curated Experience, The Joyful Stoic, and No One Wants Customer Service. Amos, we're really thrilled to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's my pleasure.
Okay, Amos, before we start this interview, I have a quick announcement for the entire audience. We have something special for all of you. So stick around till the end of the interview and well, you'll get your free gift from us. Amos, let's get started with this. My first question to you is, since you have worked with various organizations, what's the one factor that most businesses fail to take into account while crafting customer experiences?
Yeah, that's a great question. In my work working with multiple brands around the world, I find that probably the most ignored part of customer experience is their number one customer, and the number one customer are your employees.
Yeah.
Especially the employees who are responsible for customer support, customer success, sales, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And so oftentimes we will get to the organizations and they will spend all of their efforts around the end customer, pretty websites, very beautiful things on the front end. And then you get into places like their contact center, places like their retail centers, and their employees are working on green screens like it's 1985. And so what I often find is to remind organizations that your first customer are your employees, and specifically the employees who are responsible for taking care of your customers. So if their experience is not optimized, you are missing the biggest part of your customer experience journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do need to take care of your employees because if you're not taking care of your employees, they're not going to take care of your customers.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Okay, so let's go to the next question. What do you think are the key elements that one should consider while curating a CX mission, and what role would technology play in that?
Yeah, I spend a lot of time with organizations thinking about their CX mission, and the first and most important thing is making sure that your brand promise is one you can actually keep. Don't go for lofty things that you can't really adhere to. Make sure brand promise is consistent there. But then in the execution place, I think the second part of your question was around technology, which I'll get to in a minute. But more on the mission. I think about it in this way. Most missions that I see as people sort of put it together are too much of an inside out look. So they start from we, the company, want to achieve X, Y, and Z. And by the way, Mr. Customer, you or Mrs. Customer, you will help us get there. As opposed to our mission is to align with you, the customer. You are trying to get X, Y, and Z done. These are your goals. Our mission is just here as a supporting cast to help you on your road. So I encourage companies to make their mission more about their customers outside in as opposed to inside out.
Mhm.
So the second part of your question is to what role does technology play in that? There are a couple of bad ways to do it. Don't make your entire CX journey all about technology because you're missing the point. Don't ignore technology because then you're also missing the point. So what role does it really play? I describe myself and my team in my organizations. We sometimes refer to ourselves as arms dealers. And let me explain what I mean. There is a war out there for hearts and minds of your customers. There is a war to gain customer share, to gain customer loyalty, and you need weapons. And your most important weapon oftentimes are technology. So you have to think about technology not as the star of the show, but in this war for customers, in this war to get your unfair share of the customer mind share, of the customer wallet share. The weapons you need to win that war, they include people, they include processes, but technology is one you cannot ignore because you will not win this war if you're going into battle without technology that makes sense for you and your customers.
Yeah. So I like what you said about, making them the star. In this entire movie, they're the protagonist, and the company just needs to be, in the supporting role. The company and all its technology has to be the supporting cast. You can't
Yes,
make them the protagonist.
exactly.
Okay. Another question. Do you think that the overall experience, the entire thing, does it depend on every single tiny moment, or would you say that it's based on the big major wow moments only?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So probably one of the most um, common things we do with customers is relationship mapping, and we sort of do this customer journey mapping. And what it exposes is that I always say it about two things. I think the first step is you have to understand what your company goals are related to CX. Then we need to understand the customer's goals, and the way you do that is through understanding each of these customer moments.
Yeah.
But then at some point, in most mappings we do, there are hundreds of moments. And if you spend all of your time chasing hundreds of moments, that's all you'll ever do and you'll never make any progress. So it is super important to prioritize which of these moments really, really matter. So I fall on the side of understanding which moments really, really matter to the customer and which moments are going to be impactful to your goals. So I will tell you a story. So we did some work with a consumer electronics company and we did the same effort. And there were lots of moments within the customer journey, as you can imagine, in the process of buying a piece of technology. And we found the moment, the most important moment that was meaningful to both the customer and the organization involved a 10-foot cord, right? So it can be as simple as that. At times it's the digital experience. So understanding that not all moments are created equal, understanding the key moments, both positive meaning you want to amplify those experiences, and negative meaning you want to fix them. And I always encourage organizations to limit what you're fixing to a handful at a time and then work your way down the list. But chasing every single touch point in every single moment doesn't make a lot of sense. And no one has the resources to do that.
Yeah, so I noticed something a while ago. I think it was some Forrester research that said that, amplifying a positive experience gives you a greater ROI than just, simply fixing a negative experience, right?
Yeah, you brought up a great point. There are I see organizations all too often spending too much resources trying to fix a weakness as opposed to amplifying their strength. One example is, a retail organization we worked with a year ago that spent millions of dollars trying to reduce wait time. right? So the time you spend at checkout, and they've done all of this work around that. When we dug into really what was driving the customer experience, the reality of it is, even if they made the wait time experience perfect, the incremental wallet share, incremental customer loyalty was negligible. When in fact, they had some ongoing strengths, for example, their omni-channel strengths, their ability to communicate with them digitally. If they overemphasized on those things that were already positive, we saw a positive correlation in investing just a little more, gave them better ROI in terms of customer behavior than trying to fix a weakness that, while customers was an annoyance, it wasn't going to change customer behaviors ultimately.
Yeah. So essentially, you need to fix, some of the pain points, but you can't
Yes,
spend all your time focusing on them. You level what you can level, and then you start creating those peaks.
absolutely.
Okay. So my next question to you, since you said that technology is, the weapons, the ammunition that you're going to take in this war to win the hearts and minds of your customers. How can AI, chatbots, and automation in general be used to make the customer journey seamless?
Yeah, so I will say this, that what AI brings to the table on top of automation is intelligence like we've never seen before. My example, the way I sort of think about this is, customers don't hate automation. They don't hate technology. They hate badly, poorly built automation. And what I say to people is, think about you and I. If you needed some money right now, you needed some cash to go buy lunch or dinner, you may drive to the bank and you will ignore all the people there, all the tellers, and go to the automated teller machine. You do that because that piece of automation is superior to going to the teller, having a conversation. It's faster, it's better, and it's an overall better customer experience. And so if organizations can use that model and thinking about, if you are smart at deploying AI and automation into the experience, my gosh, you have the opportunity to have a double win, right? So in the past, I've been in this space now well over 20 years, and back then, when you talked about automation, it was all about cost savings, and it was all about allowing the customer to tolerate some pain. Today, what AI and these new technologies allows us to do, chatbots specifically, is we can finally get to nirvana, which is this idea that I can have automation, which is good for the organization. I save money and it's more efficient. And by the way, if you do it correctly, if you do it in a smart way, it is actually a superior experience. And never in my career has there been this opportunity to automate interactions, to make them cheaper, to make them more efficient, and your customers love you. I grew up at a time when you put up an IVR and you had to force customers to use it, and they were trying every which way to get out. And this is an opportunity to right that wrong. We can do it better now. We can do automation smarter with the new technologies that are there. As you can tell, I get super excited about the power of doing this. But the last thing I'll say is, there are still wrong ways to do it. You just have to be thoughtful about deploying this possibility and always thinking about, how do I build the experience so that customers love it and I get the benefits as well. So we are at a very interesting junction, and AI and automation will play a huge role in our future and customer experience.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't just get into automation simply because you want to cut corners and save some money. You only adopt that technology if it's going to improve your customer experience. And you have to make sure that it all ties together. It has to improve your customer experience, and it has to improve your personal bottom line. Perfect.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
My next question to you is that customer profiles do change when you have a global customer base. How should businesses plan the CX journey for such an audience?
Yeah, the way I like to think about that is, if you think about how we've come, You heard lots of noise in the marketplace probably about 5 years ago around personalization. And prior to that, right, there was market segmentation. It's this idea you take groups of companies. And now we're moving into an era that I'm coining micro personalization. So segmentation was about generalizing blocks of customers and say these are my customers in APAC and EMEA, etc. And personalization was getting a little more, these are my customers that all have similar attributes. Micro personalization is this idea that how can I quickly, using automation and using AI, understand bits and pieces of data, consume bits and pieces of data about each individual customer and utilize that information, right? Utilize the data I now know to then begin to serve them information and service based on their preferences, based on the things I know about them. If you think about one sort of way to think about that is if you think about routing, right? Something as simple as call routing or chat routing or email routing, right? We used to just put all of these customers in a bucket and say, all these customers have this characteristics, or they all bought this product, or they're from this region, so we all route them into this big queues. Where we are headed, as an example, is we have to get really, really, really micro personal now and get to a place where, especially if you are a global brand, to understand you have the data now and you have the power of technology to understand a little bit more about the customer above and beyond just where they are, so that you can win in this war by your competition is still doing big segments and they're generalizing customers. You can get really, really specific and not take an entire nation, for example, as India, and view that whole population as one group, right? You're missing out on this opportunity to differentiate if you can get more data about your customers, not just get it for getting it sake, utilize that data to serve them in very specific ways, their preferential channels, how they like to be addressed, personality differences, and then automate how you do things like routing. My gosh, if you, the listeners, particularly customers around the world, can figure out how to do this, you will differentiate yourself within your peer group for sure.
Yeah, of course, you can't put everyone in one single bucket and expect it to work out perfectly. Another thing I'd like to ask you is that even with a global audience, or even if you're dealing with an entire country, a lot of people just tend to use the technology or whatever, the chatbot or whatever, just in English. Uh, but if you think about it, only like 25% of the internet uses and actually speaks English.
Right.
What difference do you think it would make if people actually started making their stuff multilingual? For example, our chatbots are multilingual. We have chatbots in everything from Persian to Bahasa. What do you think?
Yeah.
Maybe mix everything on multilingual.
Yeah, two things. It's a frustration for customers around the world, particularly if you're a global brand. Everything is so English centric. The challenge is the reason why people haven't done this in the past is the technology, right? Like, how do I go translate higher and what have you? But to your point, the technology now exists, right? So that there are pieces of technology and organizations that out of the box leverage the ability to be global. I'll even take it a step further. They also can come in. There are that have the ability to understand the semantics, right? They can understand idioms, for example, that are local and native to those areas. If you can do all of that without having to hire, right, these individuals who speaks the dozens of languages you support, I think that again allows you to really differentiate, because as a customer, if I show up to your website or wherever I do, and now I'm interacting with something or someone that seems to understand me more, we are about building emotional connections with customers. That affinity is really strong, and it's something that can really set you apart.
Yeah, it makes them more comfortable with you, and it actually builds a little more trust over there. Okay, are there any other thoughts that you'd like to leave with the audience?
Yeah, I would say this: the future of customer experience is it just needs to be smarter. I use that term on purpose. We talk about a smarter CX, not cheaper, not faster, smarter. And what that means is the ability to take advantage of this moment we're in now and take advantage of our people, processes, and technology to build smarter and smarter customer experiences all across the journey. You and I talked a little bit about the IVR. It's 2020, and I still can't call most automated phone systems in front of my young children because I will use profanity. The reason for that is not because the technology is bad, it's because it's dumb. It's not smart. It doesn't have intelligence, it doesn't have machine intelligence. And so the future, those who will win in this war for hearts and minds of customers or organizations who know how to build smarter customer experiences, not ones that are selfish, that are about you saving money, but ones that are smarter that will benefit both the customer, the experience is better, and yourself because you'll get the savings and the ROI and the customer stickiness as well. So those would be my parting words.
Okay, Amas, this has been amazing. Your insights have been really brilliant, and I'm sure that literally everyone who wants to be the best at playing that supporting role in the customer's movie, who wants to win the Oscar for the best supporting actor, will reach out to you. I see you have listed your Facebook and your Instagram on the background. Is there any other place where they could reach you?
Yeah, I'm online at the same handle at Amos Tenumah. I love talking about this, so feel free to email me, Amos Tenumah, and Twitter, LinkedIn. Happy to connect and talk about this, and I really want to thank you guys for having me on. It's really been a pleasure and an honor. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. Okay, guys. Since you have stuck around for so long, I must, I must, give you something for that. So we're really excited to announce that our new ebook, "The Evolution of Customer Experience," is out. It's available for you to download for free. Check out the link in the description, and you'll get it. Okay. Engati CX will certainly be back with a new episode and a new expert really soon. So stay tuned, guys. We'll see you around in the next one.